report, which was done by the Partnership for a New American Economy. It was a study that a similar study was conducted, I guess, 2 or 3 years ago, and sort of this is an update of that, and the data pretty much shows the same thing. Immigrants are a very, very important part of New Jersey's economy, and as well as New Jersey's state of being, actually. And so we're here to release that information, to talk about all the immigrant entrepreneurs, to talk about the skills that we need in order to have our businesses flourish. Our immigration system basically is not based on our economic needs. And I think that's what we're all here for, to take a look at a reasonable immigration system, lawful immigration system that recognizes the needs of our country, but for us, particularly our state. New Jersey is uniquely situated, and we have I have some data here that you can find in the report, but I'll just read off a couple of things. There are about 2 million immigrants in New Jersey, 5th largest immigrant population in the nation. They make up about 22% of our workforce. According to the study that we're releasing today, 74% of immigrants in New Jersey are of working age, 25 to 64, whereas just 48% of New Jerseyans are considered to be working age. So there's obviously a higher number of immigrants that are in that working age category. Data shows that immigrants are twice as likely as native-born population to start businesses. No surprise, 32% of all entrepreneurs in New Jersey are immigrants. Immigrant-owned businesses produced $3.25 billion in revenue in 2014 and employed over 270,000 people. And that's the crux of the issue right there. Our immigrant population, contrary to some of the perception out there, doesn't take away jobs from the American workforce. They add jobs to our workforce, and they hold positions that are important to our workforce and our economy. So that's why we're here, joined by other members who are going to speak of the chamber community to help publicize this report and to change perceptions. Most importantly, to be able to urge our lawmakers to come up with a system of immigration that makes sense for our economy and for our nation. So with that, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Paul Boudreaux of Morris County Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Bob. So this is a huge issue. Our organization's been involved in immigration reform for the last 2 or 3 years. I remember 2 years ago, we had a meeting in my conference room with Congressman Frelinghuysen, and we had about 20 businesses around the table, and all of them in unison were giving us the same message, right? The immigration system is broken, it's bureaucratic, it takes way too long, it's unfair, and so on and so forth. And so, going back a few years, we were pushing members of Congress in New Jersey to support immigration reform. And, you know, when you think about the issue of undocumented people in the country, obviously there are lots of points of view on that, what we can do about it. But I think in reality, right, as a country, I really believe we've made a decision that we're not deporting these people. So if that's the case, let's move on, right? Yes, we need to have strong borders, but we also need to find a way to bring these people from out of the shadows, to have them integrate into our economy, into our society, and, you know, put a process in place. You know, the bill in the Senate a couple of years ago, frankly, my personal view, just my personal view, I mean, we were setting up the so-called path to citizenship, and it was a long path, right? It was an 8 or 10 year process by the time you could get through it to become a legal citizen. So I don't know if that's the answer, but clearly we have to have a path for these people, if I could use the term, to get right with our government, get right with what our law is, so they can become fully functioning in our country. And it's amazing when you think about these people, because they're industrious, they have an interest in technology and science in many cases, and, you know, we're not utilizing them. These folks in the shadows, we're not utilizing them to the benefit of our country overall and our economy. So we're very hopeful that Congress will move on immigration reform finally, put a process in place, and let's move on from this stalemate of all of us agreeing these people are here, but can't seem to cross the finish line in terms of how we bring them in and integrate them across our society. And so a couple of additional stats, and by the way, we have amazing technology companies. We're kind of the heart of the pharmaceutical industry in Morris County. We have Allergan, its headquarters, Novartis, Pfizer. I mean, we have thousands of employees in Morris County in healthcare and pharmaceutical and technology. And the consistent message I hear from CEOs of those companies is really hard to find the people that we need from a skill set standpoint, right? And so how do we make it easier for those folks? So, 63% of software developers in New Jersey are immigrants. 1 in 3 physicians in New Jersey graduated from a foreign medical school, indicating they were born outside of the U.S. Immigrants make up 46% of the home healthcare industry, and the share of nurses who are foreign-born is 29%. In 2014, students on temporary visas made up 1 in 3 students earning a STEM master's degree at New Jersey universities, and 40% of those earning a PhD and were in STEM-related fields were immigrants. And so people are making a huge contribution to the economy already. We could do more in that regard. And again, my personal view is, why would we have a higher education system in this country where we're training all these people in the STEM-related fields and then saying to them, but you know what, we don't want you. Go back home and compete with us. Makes absolutely no sense, right? So let's keep those students here who get those STEM-related degrees. And I know from talking to companies in Morris County, how do I find a good engineer, Paul? I can't find a good engineer. There's another statistics that says there are 10 STEM-related jobs out there available for every 1 employee who's ready to go to work. And so we need to change a system that's not working. We need to get, obviously, the Congress behind this in a big way. And I kind of look at it like, we talk about some of the major issues across the country a lot. Oftentimes we talk about infrastructure. Hey, we got to have better infrastructure. I mean, people who travel globally come back to the U.S. and go, wow, this place looks like a third world country when it comes to infrastructure, right? Huge issue. But immigration reform, as big or bigger in my view, in terms of how we can help the country if we can fix this thing. So employers are frustrated with it. And I just worked with Congressman Frelinghuysen with a gentleman in Morris County who farms 700 acres. He's a farmer. And there was an amendment just passed that basically allows him to hire back the people he had working on his farm last year. Congress had to actually take action in the last 2 or 3 months to make that happen. So this, is impactful from the farm to the factory to the R&D lab and on and on. So it's a wide swath of our economy, and we need to be able to keep people here who can work in those fields and move our country forward. So Morris County Chamber is glad to be part of this. Bob, thanks for your leadership. If I can brag for a minute, I think, Bob, looking back over the last couple of years, Mid-Jersey Chamber and Morris County Chamber, in my view, have kind of been out there on this, willing to get out front on this and talk about it because it's important. And, as we move forward, anytime I can be part of a conversation on this, I would be glad to participate. So with that, I will introduce Carlos, I believe, who will say a few words.
I am Carlos Medina. I'm chairman of the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey. We're the voice of the 80,000 Hispanic-owned companies that call New Jersey home. Those companies contribute estimated $12 billion a year annually to the New Jersey economy. It's ironic, I always say it's perception versus reality, so you read articles, and if you're brave enough to read the comment section of some of these online articles, the perception is that immigrants are sucking the system dry somehow, being a drain on our economy. But if you look at a study that was done from 2000 to 2010, 571,000 Hispanic immigrant companies started businesses. So at a time when new companies were on the decline, Hispanic immigrant companies were starting businesses, and the argument could be made really took the country out of the recession. So rather than the perception of a drag, I say these are heroes. They save the economy. So our members, many are immigrants. They come over, and we act. One of the purposes, one of our missions is we act as a Rolodex, as the mentor to these companies, because they have a very immature Rolodex. They're companies obviously that have been in Jersey for generations, so they have access to that. So they come here with a desire, often overqualified. So they're doctors in their homeland, but they come here and they're working at $10 an hour, so they take that risk and become an entrepreneur, perhaps not as a doctor, but in the health field, in a related field that they have passion about. So again, adding great value to the economy. In New Jersey alone, Partnership for a New American Economy study showed that, again, during 2007 to 2011, immigrants started 35.2% of all new businesses. Additionally, in 2004, immigrants in New Jersey earned $74.2 billion in income. Of that $74.2 billion, $6.5 billion went to state taxes, and $13.1 billion went to federal taxes. Again, if you're brave enough to go to one of these blogs, immigrants don't pay taxes, they get free laptops, they get free health care, they get free taxi service. I mean, ludicrous comments that you read. Some of the sectors that immigrants are heavy in is transportation. 64% of taxi drivers and chauffeurs are immigrants. Manufacturing, a lot of the packaging still takes place as packaged by hand. 59% of those workers are immigrants. And agriculture, I'm not sure if you're familiar, Vineland still has a huge agriculture and a large Puerto Rican community that came over because of agriculture many years ago. 1 in 4 agricultural workers are immigrants. Again, they are sectors that native-born workers are just not filling, so 55% of maids and housekeepers are immigrants. And unfortunately, that recognition of the contributions that are being made just aren't out there. There's a lot of roadblocks preventing immigrants coming to the United States to make a better life for them and their family, and that's one of the reasons why I personally and the Chamber are behind the Reasons for Reform campaign and sharing why I support comprehensive immigration reform. I hope that the facts that the report that the Partnership for a New American Economy has shared will help our congressional delegation see how urgent the need is for immigration reform. As Paul said, even though it was a long process, the original Gang of 8 proposal, at least there was some sort of a proposal that could have been tweaked, and right now we're just nowhere, and the rhetoric gets more onerous and onerous. There's no way you're ever going to deport millions of undocumented. It's just not feasible. The cost would be outrageous, and it would be a drain on the economy because you need labor, you need businesses driving the economy. So again, those are the reasons I'm behind this initiative. And I'd next like to introduce Dr. Nicholas Montalto. He's the president of Diversity Dynamics. And I'd also mention that we're all members of a coalition called the New Jersey Immigrant Entrepreneur Awards that recognizes the contributions of immigrant entrepreneurs. On November 2nd, there'll be an event in Lyndhurst, and we can give you more information on that. I believe it's njiea.org. You could get more information on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Carlos, and good morning, everyone. I'd like to begin by complimenting the partnership on the impressive amount of work that went into the preparation of this report. I counted 40 separate studies from which information was drawn to compile the information for the New Jersey report. And I think there's one kind of inescapable conclusion that you draw from all of this, and that is the success of New Jersey's economy is really critically dependent, and I emphasize the word critically dependent on the skills and labor of immigrants. So I think what I'd like to do is to tell you a little bit about our work. And I think that's one reason why I'm here. I head up an effort called the American Immigrant Policy Portal. and this is